The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Blood pressure rises, tension gets thick, risky maneuvers are made, tempers flare, and bumpers are dented. No, it's not rush hour traffic, it's multi-class racing at Lime Rock Park. Our classic IMSA vehicles may not come out as clean as they'll start the race, but hopefully our competitors will have more fun than frustration. Can anyone survive the melee of trying to navigate traffic here? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the iRacing Kamel GT Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Donkey Beard. Sean, we've been here a couple times in the past weeks, but we revisit this bull ring for one more go. Tell us about it.
One more go indeed. 1.53 miles. Right here across the Long Island Sound for me, actually, in Lakeville, Connecticut, up in the northwest corner of the state. They built this place in 1956. It's still the nation's oldest continuously operating road racing venue. track's owned by Skip Barber, actually. And in 1975, they've actually listed it on the National Register of Historic Places. But Joe, 7 turns. It's only a 30-minute race. I think the Nissans can do about 500 laps around here in 30 minutes. So that's actually that's a bit of an overestimation. But you're going to see it gets around here really quick. We're going to take just a brief moment to look at the GSRC lap guide. Again, like I said, it's just a brief moment. Hang on to your seats, folks.
All right, we've got Clayton McLeod and the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Lime Rock Park. Coming down to Big Bend, this is really your only realistic chance to outbrake someone for an overtake, but it's going to be sketchy trying to hold it too wide through here if neither of you gives in. Try to take it as 2 apexes, then, coming off, get the car to the right. The aptly named left-hander is probably best for the late apex, and make sure to hug the left side to give yourself a better shot through the S's. Watch out for wheel spin since the turbo leg can get you. Weave through no name straight, then chuck it into the uphill. Keep the wheel straight over the crest and stay off to the left as you approach West Bend. There's very little runoff on the outside, so if you dip wheels into the grass on exit, it could easily be good night. Finally, there's diving turn. Get the car into the groove down by the curb and be careful about how much you flirt with the dirt. Hopefully, you kept it together and have now finished a lap around Lime Rock Park. Blink and you missed it. Very short lap guide around here, as Sean alluded to. The laps will rifle by quick for both classes, although the gap between them is significant. Sean, this place is so short. Is there any place that's really good to try and overtake?
Can I give that to you in one answer? How about
sure.
No? No, actually, Big Bend, not a bad spot to try and get something done, but everything comes at such a risk here. The track isn't very wide. There's a lot of runoff in a couple spots, but man, there's a few spots where the walls come up really quick. I think you're going to be you're going to be fighting to keep the car on track at speed for most of this race. But if you're going to get it done, Big Bend is probably going to be your best opportunity. And Big Bend, well, that's turn 1 at the end of the long straight. Not really long straight. It's as long as it gets on this track, but you'll come out of turn 7 and all the way down that straight across the start-finish line. That's where you'll see most of the passing today, unless you get an opportunity on somebody's mistake somewhere else.
You can see qualifying is happening right now. Now, usually, most tracks are qualifying that we watch takes us quite a while through the pre-race, but most drivers have already got their 2 laps in, with our Nissans only doing 41 to 44 second laps, and most of the Audis, wow, look at this, Sean. Look at the qualifying times. I'm not sure if we have the ability to get those on screen. Fastest one is a 49.9. The last with a time in right now is a 51.6, and that is between, what is this, about 10 of these Audis? It is incredibly tight.
Yeah, and we've got some other guys still just getting out on track to take their quality times in Michel Dijon and Nestoras Kiosoglu. Some names you might recognize from a couple of other series joining us here.
In fact, that 51.6 is an outlier. The next car up is a 50.8, so that's 1 second separating roughly 9 cars there. Just incredible stuff. There you can see on the screen, there's our leaderboard for the Audis. Strodbeck is back. This will be interesting to see how he fares as we ride on board with Kiosoglu.
Did he take the week off last week too?
I believe he did. I believe. I'm not sure what his reasoning was, but he comes back at an interesting moment here in the series with Lime Rock Park already building a reputation within the series as being a little chaotic. And they've had a bit of a preview, of course, Sean, with the both IMSA series and Lotus 79 guys racing here last week. And the Lotus 79 is known for being pretty similar to this Nissan in terms of grip and speed and the way it drives. Do you think that makes for any advantage if any of those drivers have hopped over for this week?
Maybe a little bit, but I find in a Nissan you're really not using the brakes maybe as much as you were in the Lotus 79. A Nissan is really, it's a lot of lift around here because it's got so much grip, tremendous grip. Now, I did qualify in a much, not qualify, I did practice in a much cooler session, about 25 degrees cooler. This track today, 99 degrees, Joe. This could throw everybody a little bit off because Honestly, most of the practice sessions I saw were much lower temperatures than we've got right now, so they could make it a little bit trickier for the Nissan, actually.
Indeed, about 99 degrees on track temperature currently. Beautiful 73-degree air temperature out there in the Connecticut summer. Well, virtual summer, I should say. As we watch a few drivers who have finished their laps just right now actually putting some more practice in, doing whatever they can to get ready for these conditions. Now, speaking of having Strodbeck back and him missing a race, we've got another driver who was missing last week and is missing once again. Keith Ritchie is not back. He will be back next week according to the forums, but this is an opportunity for guys like Ihimaki and McLeod to maybe make a dent on the points.
Yeah, definitely, and Ihimaki was pretty good last week, Joe, so a chance for him to make a significant dent with a big finish today. Of course, right now he's slated to start from the pole, and that is a good way to get started here, but traffic really going to be a big factor today, Joe. We're looking at about a 7 to 10 second difference between the classes, and I think that's going to, our heads are going to be on a swivel for about probably about 25 minutes. I think we'll give them about 5 minutes to reach the field, the Nissans, to catch the Audis.
Yeah, based on our experiences with the 79s and the IMSA series, I don't doubt that we'll have a lot of stuff to call. We'll try not to be too frantic for our poor director here and keep attention on one thing for at least a little while. With most of the drivers having gotten their laps in, it is worth going to the grid, so let's bring up our starting order. Ardo Ihimaki has put it on the pole after winning at Montreal last week. Clayton McLeod will start on the outside of row 1. Jamie Hall will start in 3rd with Philip Lake in 4th. John Hill starts in the 5th position. Marco Kika will round out row 3 in 6th with John Keefe starting in 7th. Fabian Jungbluth in 8th and Michael Houghton in 9th. Nicholas Mukanos will round out the top 10 with Murtal Shaheen starting row 6 in 11th. AJ Bear starting a little bit down the field in 12th. Not having a good weekend for qualifying, it seems. Michael Kopak will be in 13th with Martin Krejcik starting 14th. Michelle Ferraris is in 15th, and Don Peak, if you're curious, that is indeed my father, rounding out our Nissan field.
All right, then we'll go on to the GTO field. The Audis, Brian Strodbeck going to start on the pole, the only driver to turn at 49. Ove Trengrade, he'll start 2nd. Nestoras Kiosoglu, he does put down a good qualifying effort there. He is going to start 3rd. Pavlos, oh, there we go. Pavlos Veritsoglu, there we go, 20th in 4th overall. And then we go down to Michel De Jong. He'll start 5th today. Ben Lafter, 6th. Fernando Ferreira will start 7th. Andy Purrs, 8th. Andrew Baki, 9th. Brian Shanahan, 10th. Chris Bassett going to start 11th today. Hideki Koivitso, Joe called him an outlier, 12th. Jay Dykes is going to start 13th.
And you saw Rob Olenek and Jimmy Broadbent in there. They will start with the Nissans at the back of the field behind Don Peak. Olenek very much out of order, though. He typically is very fast, Sean. I suspect this is going to make a long and hard day for Rob.
Yeah, he's going to have a lot of work to do, isn't he, from back there? Rob, did he take a qualifying time, Joe?
Well, he didn't get a lap in. And
okay.
Let's see. I'm trying to see if he... I guess it's not going to count his laps. I'm not seeing on my time and scoring, and I don't have time to go back and check. I'm not sure if maybe he had 2 offs or if he wrecked the car or what, but there you can see Rob Olenek right near the back of those prototypes. The GTP field is going to provide quite a barrier for him to hope for even a podium today, I suspect. Although, attrition is expected to be a little bit high today, Sean.
It could be, Joe. I hope not for these drivers on track, and for the sake of our viewers, hopefully it doesn't get too messy, but the times being so close, this track being so narrow. Listen, everybody's got to navigate the jump. We didn't even talk about the jump, Joe. We didn't even...
We actually, apparently Dougie, our camera guru, gave us a special camera just to show you that the Nissans get air here. A car with that much downforce leaves the ground coming over that, Sean. How about that?
Yeah, no, I felt it. the key is to really just keep the wheel straight. I mean, if you keep the wheel straight, you might be okay. You might. Even if you keep the wheel straight, you still may have trouble. It's tricky, real tricky. You're going to see how tricky here in just a moment.
31 cars spread out over about a mile and a half, and between 40 and 50-second laps, that leaves what, Sean, about less than a second between each car if you spread them out all across the track. There's just no place to hide with this big of a field and cars lapping this quickly. As you can see, our Audis working their way through. The right-hander, sometimes called the S's, Nissans, are coming up over the uphill, over the jump right now. And into West Bend, the Roof pace car leading them around the pace lap. Just one lap to try and warm up these tires, and these Nissans and Audis will definitely need it, especially these Nissans, which need the grip through the corners. Down through diving turn. Very much single file through here. Could cause some problems if drivers try to push the issue. As the Roof now peels off into the pit lane, it gives Arto control of the field. He gets an incredible jump on McLeod. That's going to allow the car of Jamie Hall to sneak in a second before they even reach the first turn. A couple of cars maybe thinking about 3 wide, but most of them getting side by side, as it looks like we have some cars. AJ Bear and Jimmy Broadbent involved, and that's going to stack up our Audis already. The leader of the Audis, we had one car all the way off, and I believe that was Pavlos Veritsoglu.
Yeah, Veritsoglu. It was Veritsoglu off, and he had nowhere to go there, Joe. Gets into the back of a Nissan, stopped in the middle of the track. We'll get back to it. Strodbeck was able to get away, though, and put Nestoras Kiosoglu and Obe Trendgrave behind him because of that trouble.
We'll get back to that replay in a second. We want to try and watch the rest of lap 1 here, and Arto is going to continue to lead the way with Jamie Hall right behind, and John Keefe losing ground quickly. In fact, McLeod didn't just slip to third. He is now in 4th as Keefe has replaced him there. Strodbeck still leading the way in your Audis. Nestoras holding on to second, only half a second back. How about Ove Trangarade still there in 3rd? He's probably wanting to try and hold on to Strodbeck and get a little bit of revenge, having been beaten by him quite a bit recently.
Joe, another car that had trouble on the first lap, Michel De Jong. Oh, Jimmy Broadbent locking him up over the jump. Does not hit anything in his Nissan. That happened just now.
AJ Bear, however, is turning into a bear as he just shoves Brian Shanahan out of the way into the uphill. We're going to look at the replay real quick, then maybe after this we can jump back to that first lap incident. I think maybe he wasn't expecting that Nissan to come through. Would not have gotten a blue flag. There we go. Got the color right.
I don't think Shanahan knew he was there, Joe. I really don't. I don't think he knew he was coming up on him.
All right, let's watch this first lap into the first corner and try to pick apart what happened. It looked like AJ Bear had Broadbent come up the middle of himself and Michael Kopak, and that caused Rob Olenek to come to a complete halt, and the Audi of, who was that? They got right into the back of him. I think that's Fernando Ferreira, who just ran straight into him. No, it's Michel de Jong, I think.
Yeah, that might have been where. Yeah, it was. That's where his trouble started, and then he had the incident that ended it for him, and he's now behind the wall.
Yeah, there we saw the onboard from Michel. He was 3 wide, couldn't go left, couldn't go right, and with the car completely stopped on the track. Well, I made a joke about rush hour traffic, but it basically was that for a moment. Already the lead of our prototypes are catching the back of the Audis. You can see as we follow Jamie Hall and Ihamaki.
Yeah, and up front of the GTOs, actually, Kiosoglu has turned up the wick on Brian Strodbeck. Strodbeck, great pace, been very solid so far, was lucky to avoid that trouble there on the opening lap, but Kiosoglu starting to put in some really, really hot laps here early on, Joe.
Here we can see our Audi leaders already stretched about 2 seconds over Train Grade. I said that he might want to try and do something on Strodbeck, but I think he'll need some traffic trying to regain that ground. Keefe. John Keefe off on the final corner. This was the car of Ritzoglu.
Yep, Pavlos Faritzoglu there, and Keefe comes up, and they get together.
Michael Houghton also spun off to the inside, completely separate incident. Keefe a little bit unhappy that he wasn't given room, it sounds like. As he gets on the radio to complain, here we see Houghton having been demoted to 10th after recovering. This is the replay that we're watching, of Houghton spinning off that final corner. We come back live now. I do feel a little bit bad for these Audi drivers, Sean. They're kind of pinballs out there.
Yeah, they are, and again, they're running such a much different pace, a different line. They're braking. Oh boy.
Broadbent with some trouble as well coming up over the hill. Let's watch the replay of that one.
Boy, and that's the already damaged car of AJ Bear that gets him. He stopped there in the middle of the track, and to see Bear come up here on board with him.
And watch this. I think this is blind. He might not have known the car was there at all.
I don't think he did. And then Bear slides off into the end of the tire barrier. Ouch, crunch.
Disappointing day coming to a disappointing end for the Australian. There you can see his car. Might be able to get some repairs done and get back out, but at this point he can say goodbye to a decent finish. Oh, 5th place. Great battle here coming down into Big Bend. That's Mukanos and Hill. And actually just a huge swath of prototypes, GTPs, coming all over the Audi of Ben Laughter. Just Mukanos having to take to the grass just to squeeze through. It's a train behind him as he's... Whoa, and who is that going off? That is Fabian Jungbluth. Not sure what happened. I think he got into the back of Laughter here. Oh, no, he didn't. He just lost it getting on the power. Is the turbo lag pretty bad out of these corners here, Sean?
No, Joe, it's not that bad. I didn't find it to be that bad. Now, of course, I'm not a pro driver like some of these guys, but no, I didn't really have as much issue as some other places.
Already have a couple big movers. Mukanos, remember, who was at the front of that train, qualified 10th. He is up to 5th. He's trying to chase down Clayton McLeod, although he's got a long ways up to there, about 4 seconds between them on track. You can see that's going to fluctuate a lot with them navigating their way through the Audis. Already a number of cars have DNF'd. Jay Dykes, Michelle DeYoung, Rob Olenek, Brian Shanahan, John Keefe, Hideki Koivisto, Jimmy Broadbent, AJ Bear, and Michele Ferrari, I believe. Excuse me if I got that wrong. Leaves us with 22 cars out on track, so already we're looking at 9 retirements in the first 7 minutes.
I think you said something about that, and I tried to shoot you down, Joe. Sorry. I'll listen next time.
Optimism is a good thing. Meanwhile, our leaders battling as Jamie Hall gets a run on Ardo Yamaki with the car, the Audi of, not sure who that was, Chris Bissett, interrupting the momentum of Ardo Yamaki. Jamie Hall streaks by on the front stretch. Check this out, Sean. Almost has to take to the pit entry to find room. Yeah.
Joe, I'm trying to keep an eye on Brian Strodbeck and make sure he's holding on to this thing. So many Nissans coming through. He's having to be so patient and move out of the way for everybody. In the meantime, Kyosoglu right behind him is having to do the same thing, and that hasn't changed the battle much. It's still about a second difference. A lot farther back to Ove Trengrade, though, who's really lost pace to these guys now. 4 seconds back, Joe.
So despite the constant interruptions, Nestor is sticking like glue on Strodbeck. Loses a little bit of time there coming out of the right-hander as the car of Kopak squeaks through. Oh, and Hall lost the lead. Was there contact? I see an Audi off as well. There was. That was Andy Pears. Just timed the move wrong. Coming up to the left-hander. Look at this, Sean.
Yeah, Joe, and he just barely gets a piece of him. I mean, just nicked him. Sends Andy around, and Andy tries to get back on track, and very carefully, because Martin Kirchhoff was coming through there as well.
Well, Hall only goes down to second, as Philip Blake was all 9 seconds back at the time. So he's gained about halfway on our former leader, but Ihamaki re-inherits P1 as he continues to try to slice his way through this traffic. He's going to overtake third place in the Audis any moment now with Ove Trangarade. And it's not just the Audis that these Nissans need to worry about, but also some of the slower Nissans. They'll be catching traffic there, Sean.
Yeah, that definitely. And you know what? We've had a couple of Nissans that have had trouble and a little bit off pace. And, you know, with the nature of this track as it is, they're going to get caught too, obviously.
Here we saw Ihamaki having to deal with Fabian Jungbluth. Now he goes by the Audi of Brian Strodbeck. That was our GTO leader. And up next is going to be Rob Olenek, who has come back out on track. So he has not DNF'd. Apologies for calling that a little bit too early. A few of our other drivers may still come out after taking the repairs. Olenek, currently 28th, last GTP car out running.
Boy, I hope I'm not on the operating table when you're doing surgery, Joe. calling it early on me, buddy.
Oh, and Andy Pears with more problems.
Boy, yeah, he's not having any luck here with the traffic, Joe. And that was John Hill trying to get by.
Stuck his nose in. That sent him off into the grass and unfortunately clattering into the barriers. We're watching the replay here.
Little frustration maybe on Andy's part. Tries to close the door on him. It doesn't quite work out. I don't know if you want to try to close the door on a Nissan. Andy gets back going, though. I mean, damage minimal on the car. It's just the time lost at this point.
As we watch John Hill in 7th, he was the car that tipped him off. Meanwhile, Murtul Shaheen has overtaken Kopak because Kopak is off. You're going to watch a replay there. This was driver error. Kopak was held up just a little bit by Pears onto the front stretch. It must have been put offline. A little bit of gunk on the tires sends him off on Big Bend, but he's able to return. Switching up to the battle for 4th as Mukanos has finally run down McLeod. I mentioned earlier he's got a lot to gain. Well, that traffic has indeed come in handy. And you can see this battle for just outside of the podium as they work their way around slower prototypes and the GTOs mixed together. And you can see the effect that has as Brian Strodbeck unintentionally holds up Mukanos and costs him about a second. And incredibly, in all this, Sean, we're almost to halfway.
Almost to halfway. Hey, I tell you what, any one of these Audis that finished this race, I think, deserve a medal today. I think we get. I think we're going to get participation awards today to the GTO field.
Oh, I think more like they need some Neosporin and some duct tape after this thing. Meanwhile, the battle. Yeah, I was just to come to that because Nestoras is still on the back of Strodbeck. Oh, the car off right in front of him! Oh no!
And
That's Pavlos Veratsoglu.
And Kiosoglu slides right into him. No place to go. Front end of his car a lot shorter. Oh, he's got engine damage. Oh no.
Is he going to pit in this time? I would hope so. There he goes.
Boy, he's lucky to make it in. That car's smoking very, very badly.
Disappointment for that Audi Quattro. Meanwhile, Ove Trangarade gets promoted up into 2nd. He's 6 seconds behind Strodbeck. And Laughter now finds himself onto the podium. There we see Ove Trangarade, the Scandinavian. Meanwhile, in fourth, sounds like Andrew Backey was, third. Laughter was trying to allow the Nissan of Don Peak by, and now he's got more.
He almost, Laughter almost gets run over by Jamie Hall. I mean, Laughter was just driving his line. Hall's got to give a little bit right there. I think that's the problem today, Joe. We've just not seen enough give and take between the classes, to be frank.
Well, I saw one of the drivers saying that, and actually I believe he said he's from Connecticut, that you almost have to be aggressive to do anything here, otherwise you'll never get anywhere. I wonder if maybe that's the attitude a lot of these Nissans are taking, as we see Backey get overtaken by, I believe that was Shaheen. Excuse me, that was Kopak going through. Now we finally hit that halfway mark. Your top 5 in our prototypes. Ardo Ihimaki leads the way. Jamie Hall, still down in second, has certainly dropped off of Ihimaki. About 7.5 back. Philip Lake, another 7.5 behind. Rounding out our podium, Clayton McLeod, still in fourth. And Mukanos giving chase, rounding out the top 5.
Joe, in the GTO class, in the Audis, the field is getting thin. We've only got 6 of them left on track. 13 started. Your leader, Brian Strodbeck, still in command. 7.5 seconds over Ove Trengrade. Ben Laughter, another, about 9 seconds behind Ove. So the top 3 really spread out. Andrew Backey is chasing Laughter. Now that is going to be a battle indeed. He is in fourth. Chris Bassett, 5th, and then Andy Purrs, the only other Audi left on the track, sits in 6th.
There we see Purrs, but you touched on Backey, and it was our closest battle on the track. He had a horrible run out of the diving turn and lost ground to Laughter. Those two have really suffered quite a bit from the traffic of the Nissan squeezing their way through. Marco Kika is up next. You can see just how much it compromises the line of Backey, costed him yet more time.
Well, Joe, we said this is going to be fun.
Fun for us, not necessarily for some of the drivers.
Thanks for picking me up there. That was my thought.
How the pendulum swings, because Laughter just caught all the worst traffic through the uphill, west bend, and diving turn, allowing Backey to close it in to within half a second once more. Martin Krejcik is waiting patiently behind, and wow, missing his braking point for the first turn. Ben Laughter goes very wide. Unfortunately, Andrew's not able to take advantage of it. Closes right under the spoiler. Martin is waiting so patiently, seeing that this is a battle for position, not wanting to hold one or the other car up. In fact, still waiting behind them here. Once again, Backey just not able to hit these apexes. Jamie Hall appears to have had more problems. We're not sure what went on there, as he's dropped another 5 seconds.
Well, Jamie...
it was contact.
Yeah, he had some traffic next to him, Chris Bassett, and was there contact, Joe? I think he just locked up the brakes trying to get into the turn. I don't think he actually made contact. He just locks him up.
Yeah, we couldn't see from that angle. We're going to watch one more time, but you're right. Looks like they never actually touched, but just an emergency halt from the UKNI driver. Yeah. Bridge kind of obstructing our view, but I can assure you from what I've seen and gone back and looked at it, they did not actually make contact. Hall still in second place. Backey and Laughter still going at it, though. And it looks like Laughter has lost it as Backey has made his way around somehow. Go back and see where that happened. Looks like he got a run out of the final corner just this lap.
He did. It was actually Big Bend at the end of the straight. He gets the inside position and holds on to it there and takes it away from Laughter.
And Backey already dropping back. Or excuse me, Laughter dropping back rather, as they get lapped by Rob Olenek, who's just now coming through for actual positions on these Audis. It's 9 laps down from our leaders. Mukanos has he gotten McLeod? Yes, he has.
Yes, he has. Yes, sir.
Gonna watch the replay once again. Traffic coming into it in the uphill.
It looks like there was a little bit of McLeod has a little bit of a scary moment over the jump here, and he's got to get out of it.
And in that, Fabian Jungbluth was off. I'm not sure if we caught a glance of that on screen. Andy Pears as well, I think, was off track. Oh, he had contact from Michael Houghton coming up over the uphill. And a hard hit into the wall. He's somehow able to keep the car going, though. I am not sure, after multiple contacts, how Pears' Audi is still driving in a straight line.
I'm not sure, Joe. That's great mystery to me. The Audi does not handle well when it gets significant damage on it. He's hanging on to it. We've got a replay here.
Hey, you're going to see coming up over the hill. I think Houghton timed it wrong. Or did Andy try and move over there?
He nosed it in there really good, didn't he?
Could have potentially, and that's Don Peak having to take evasive action to keep from getting into him. Could have been that he lost the car over the hill and that's why he moved to the right, but that is what caught Houghton out, it appears. We're going to watch the replay one more time. Yeah, that looks like that car got loose. So after Backey has finally overtaken Lafter for the podium position, he has put a gap on him over 2 seconds, or not over, nearly 2 seconds, I should say, between the number 16 and the number 18.
Well, Joe, the key to a win, talk about Brian Stradbeck right now, really at this point it's going to be about avoiding this Nissan traffic and working with it. I say avoid it coming through and careful not to make contact. He's had so many close calls, but the car is still clean. Ove Trendgrade has dropped back to about 9 seconds. He has not had as much luck navigating the traffic. The battles are slim here in the GTO class. Like I said, and just behind Stradbeck, Michael
That's
Kopak.
Oh,
man. Boy, and Kopak could have run straight through him there, but instead he gets on the brakes and, well, essentially maybe ends his race there.
And take a guess who Philip Lake, also nearby, had problems with that caused both cars to be out. Wow. We saw just a glance of that.
Yeah, in the background there.
What a bizarre incident.
Man,
it's like Pears wanted to come in the pits. Lake wanted to come around the right side.
Did a big black cloud roll in over this track all of a sudden?
Well, it did over Andy Pears, that's for sure.
Wow.
You can see he gets held up. He tries not to get into him, then tries to squeak through, not realizing that Pears was going to call it quits here or something. Now he really has to. Oh, man. Andy Pears, I think, needs a long, warm bath, Sean. Maybe a good home-cooked meal after this one.
Yeah.
Well, maybe even loses another position.
Maybe even therapy, Joe.
I wouldn't doubt it. Michael Houghton, what a run this has been. Gets up to fourth. We're going to see on the replay as McLeod gets loose out of the right-hander and hands it over. So Houghton qualifying in ninth up to fifth. And yet he's not the biggest mover, up to fourth, because Mukanos ahead of him. He qualified 10th. He is in third. Well, we mentioned the attrition, and at the start it seemed like it was going to be pretty severe. But after those 9 cars at the start that had issues, I'm seeing only 2 more, I believe, that have retired since. Andy Pears being one of them, obviously.
Yeah, Andy, I don't think Andy's going to make it back out. That car was hit pretty hard there. Fabian Jungluth just had a quick off. He didn't hit anything, but he did have to come back out on the track in front of Iamaki, as Iamaki was getting by.
That looked to be a little bit of driver error, though. He could have been put off by John Keefe, who was coming through to the inside on the first corner. There we see Iamaki, our leader. And I said it during the Lotus 79 race, and I'll say it again, Sean. I'm not sure how many cars are going to look clean after this one.
I think all are going to need a little attention to the body shop when this thing is said and done with.
There we see our leader in the GTOs haven't checked in on Strodbeck in a while. Traingrade's closed it in from 9 down to 6. With 5 minutes to go. I'm not sure if he's got enough time to close that in.
Yeah, I don't know, Joe. It's he's going to have to get a lot faster. Strodbeck, again, has been very consistent with his pace. Knocking off another lap here, and he's still turning in 50-second laps, and as that one was. And Traingrade, last time by, did throw a 50-second lap and does it again, so he's heading in the right direction. But again, I think we're just running out of time. I think we've only got about 7 laps left.
Now, I just noticed that Traingrade's running a paint scheme that says Justin Berry across the top. Do you have any idea what that's about?
I do not. No.
Ove could hop into the booth after the race and tell us who Justin Berry is, I guess. Unusual to have somebody else's name plastered across the top of your car. I'll tell you what, though, Nestoras Kiosoglu and Pavlos you're going to have to get this one because I noticed I was saying it wrong already, Sean. Vizertzoglu, thank you. Vizertzoglu have both returned to the track 13 laps down and 17 laps down from the overall leader, respectively. 1 lap down and 4 laps down from their leader in the GTO class, Brian Strodbeck. Meanwhile, Baki and Laughter back at it again as Laughter looking to the inside of Baki down into the first corner. He's able to take away both apexes, and he's able to take away the spot. Oh, and look at that GTO or GTP get boxed in. John Keefe having to sit and wait patiently. Minutes left on the clock. And Sean Ambrose, once again, our investigative journalist. I take it we're not ready to talk about Justin Berry.
No, I was investigating the track, Joe, actually.
Okay.
Joe, this has been a kind of what we thought. Maybe, I don't know, I underestimated a little bit. I didn't think there would be as much havoc out here today, but God, it's been crazy. It's been really, really hard on the GTO class. Strodbeck, though, still really has it under control. Ove Traingrade, although he's been a little bit better. We're 5 laps to go. I just don't know if he's going to be able to get there.
It's a battle for the top 10 in the GTPs as Kopak is hassling the car of Jungbluth, who gets sideways coming through West Bend, tries to hold on to it. He's into the barriers. And Jungbluth, who had a top 10 in his hands, has to give it up.
Oh, trouble for Clayton McLeod and Chris Bassett on track. Oh, boy. The leader trying to get through. Strodbeck being held up big time.
We're going to watch the replay of that one as we saw a car split them. Philip Lake going between Bassett and McLeod, threading the needle. Woo! That was some quick decision making.
That, boy, now Philip Lake going off track, Joe.
Yeah,
Lake
his problems aren't over. That just was a driver error. sliding off into the weeds.
In and around the lake. I always, when it goes off the track, that always comes up. I'm sorry.
I was tempted to make a lake pun, but I held back. Wow. Look at this, though, between Laughter and Backy. These two have just been throwing punches back and forth. Backy around the inside of the left-hander, managing to overtake Laughter once again. And look at how much it's holding up Jungbluth and Houghton.
Boy, Laughter was able to get a little love tap in there, and then Andrew pulls away from him. But yeah, Houghton just getting through now. Oh! Houghton's around.
Oh, and this is going to lose him positions as he just puts it into the Armco a little bit. Clayton McLeod is coming up on him. We're going to watch the replay. I'll keep you up to date if McLeod gets him. Traffic proving ever so difficult as that Audi gets a little bit too much curb. Let's go back live, though, because Houghton is under attack, and here comes Marco Kika as well, trying to tip it in, and he tips both of them. Jeez. McLeod and Houghton off into the barriers, and McLeod gets on the radio expressing his displeasure. White flag is out as we watch the replay. Or no, as we're live now on Ardo. We're going to watch the replay later, apparently, on that one. Sometimes those opportunities come, Sean, and the drivers just have to make a decision.
Yeah. Or several decisions, as it may be. Yeah, that was just crazy.
Ihamaki has led for most of this race. He's only lost it briefly. 13 seconds over Jamie Hall as he comes onto the front stretch. A frantic one, but Ihamaki takes it here at Lime Rock Park. Strodbeck coming to the line now. 5-second gap himself as more GTPs slide their way through. He makes sure to give them plenty of room as Strodbeck comes back with aplomb and takes the win here in Connecticut. All right, let's look at the replay of what happened between Kika, Houghton, and McLeod. You can see getting a run down the front stretch after Houghton had his incident, easy for me to say.
Well, it really...
It looks like Houghton was trying to defend, Kika was trying to attack, and everybody met in the middle.
3 cars fighting for the same amount of real estate there. Kika was on the inside, tries to stick it in there, Joe, and it doesn't work out. Obviously.
It's a case of Houghton was hit by who? Unfortunately, at the end of this race, and that cost them multiple positions. Well, with that, we're going to catch our breath. We're going to come back with the official results here of the Camel GT Series. On screen, we're going to have all the upcoming races here on GSRC, and we'll have driver interviews. Stick around. Welcome back to Lime Rock Park here in Connecticut, and boy, we had another thrilling race here at this very short road course with the Kamel GT Series putting two old sports cars out in multi-class racing around here. Ardo Yamaki came home with the GTP win. Looked pretty definitive, wasn't without its own troubles though. Gave away the lead momentarily to Jamie Hall, who came home in second in the end after he eventually got him back. Nicholas Mukanos really had to work his way forward after a bad qualifying from 10th to 3rd. Nice podium to Nicholas. Philip Lake started 4th, finished 4th. Another driver that had his own share of issues out there today. Marco Kika, controversial move at the very end, raised the ire of a couple people as he tipped two of them off into Big Bend, finishes 5th. Clayton McLeod managed to recover after that late incident with Marco to finish in 6th, with Michael Houghton coming home in 7th. Myrtle Shaheen finishes in 8th, lap down from our leader John Hill as well, in 9th, with Michael Kopak rounding out our top 10. Fabian Youngbluth finishes in 11th, and the last of our prototypes running on the, or at least with above our Audis here at the end, is Martin Krejcik finishing 12th.
All right, and we'll go ahead and take the GTO class now. Brian Strotbeck, your winner there. Ove Trengrade, well, he worked on it there at the end. Couldn't catch him. He'll finish second. Andrew Backey, 3rd place. He'll go to the podium of this GTO class. Ben Laughter, he was digging out there, but can do no better than 4th. Chris Bassett, we saw him have a little bit of trouble, and, he manages to stay in this thing and finish 5th. And then those were the last cars on the track. Then you go back to Nestoras Kiosoglu, finishes 6th. Andy Pers, 7th. Pavlos Vizartoglu, he'll finish 8th. Fernando Ferreira, he finishes 9th. Hideki Koivitso, 10th. Brian Shanahan, 11th. Michel De Jong, 12th for him. And Jay Dykes did not start this race.
Now there's your 31 car field after these 30 minutes are done. And at the top of our GTO field, I believe we'll be able to talk to Brian Strodbeck and see what it was like from these poor Audis' point of view, especially him having to navigate the traffic the best of everyone. Brian, it seemed a little bit stressful for the Audis trying to deal with those Nissans constantly coming through.
Oh yeah, that was pretty insane. I'm still trying to catch my breath.
I don't doubt it. Well, you managed to take another win, having returned here. Of course, you had to fend off Ove Trangarade on this one, as well as Nestoras Kiosoglu, who really kept you honest at the start. Was it a relief when you saw that Nestoras ran into trouble and you didn't have him threatening you as closely?
Well, yeah, it was kind of bittersweet because I really wanted to race him because we raced last night together and he got me. And I was looking for another good battle with him today, and I was kind of disappointed to see him go off or whatever. I don't even know what happened to him.
Yeah, I think he got into a little bit of trouble with the Nissan traffic, if I remember correctly. Well, are you glad to see the end of this place? Are you a fan of Lime Rock Park? What's your feelings after having done a couple now this week, obviously?
Yeah, it's a fun track. It's just my old bones don't like it very much. I have to put my wrist in some ice water, I think, after this one.
Oh man, we talked about some of the physical therapy that some of the drivers might need after this. Well, again, congratulations on the win. We look forward. Hopefully, you'll be back next week, I assume.
I think I'm working next week, so I'll miss the broadcast next week.
Well, we'll miss having you around, but best of luck.
Thanks, Joe.
That was our winner in the GTOs, Brian Strodbeck. I believe, Sean, have you figured out who you're going to be pulling in next to talk to?
Let's talk to Nick Bukanos, because he did finish on the podium up there, and those Nissans. Nick, what a race. It was pretty crazy out there today. What were your impressions?
Oh yeah, it was really crazy, but I gotta say though, for the conditions, I think for the most part everyone did a pretty good job in traffic. Audis were predictable, and I didn't have too much problem.
Well, you didn't have too much problem, but boy, a lot of other drivers seemed to have trouble. But talk about that, working around the Audis, the closing rate, obviously so quick on a small track like this, not a lot of great opportunities to pass. Are you really depending on them most of the time to make the move that allows you by?
Here I'm just banking on them holding their line, and then I kind of identified a couple places where I can get by coming off the corner, and that seemed to work the best, because then they don't have to worry about me trying to dive bomb or anything.
Well, I'll tell you what, this race was a lot tougher than I thought it might be, and you managed to hang on to it. One of the things I learned about the Nissan getting around here, don't seem to be using the brakes a whole lot. What about you? I mean, what kind of a trip around is it for you? Are you braking much, or are you just lifting and really working through the gears very little?
I try to be lighter on the brakes for the most part. A lot of trail braking corners where I can gain some time, but yeah, it's tough. The Nissan's not easy, especially around a track like this. It gets pretty bumpy in some places.
Well, Nick, we do thank you for a moment here in the interview room, and congratulations on a podium finish there in the Nissans. We'll see you next week, my friend.
Yep, thanks a lot.
All right, Joe, and that was Nick Bucanos. A great run by him, gets him on the podium there. And let's see, who are we gonna?
I think Andrew Backey is going to be our next interviewee.
He finished here.
Yeah, he finished in third in the GTO field as well, and he had a spirited fight with Ben Laughter all the way to the end. Andrew, tell us a little bit about that, because you guys weren't just dodging traffic, you were banging doors with each other.
Oh yeah, it was great fun with Ben out there today. 2 wide, 3 wide, almost 4 wide there for a bit. So took us. I think both of our heart rates are finally down now. But man, what a fun race!
Did you have any races out here on this track for the Kamel GT series before this? Did you have anything to inform you on how to approach this strategically?
Yeah, I was able to run yesterday, but it was overcast, so huge difference in the way that the car drives. It's a lot slipperier today, but usually, I just depend on being cautious, but somewhat, decisive in traffic. And usually that tends to pay off with the attrition, and Lime Rock has more than its fair share.
We were a little bit surprised that there weren't more cars that dropped out. It seemed like after the initial rush, most people calmed down, or at least were able to keep going if they did run into issues. Is the Audi pretty difficult to continue with if you get any sort of damage? Is it fragile? Is it tough?
I mean, here, probably if you just had bodywork damage, you'd be fine. My gearing is as low as I've had it, or as aggressive as I've had it on acceleration as I have anywhere else. I think this might be the first place I ran high downforce. If you get wheel damage, though, and your suspension is off, then you're probably going to need to park it.
Yeah, it caused a few of the Audis to unfortunately need to call it quits. You'll see once you watch the broadcast, some of them had more than others, unfortunately. We felt a little bad for a few people. But thanks for coming to talk to us. Congratulations on the podium, and hope to see you a week from now.
See you then. Thanks.
That was third place in the GTO's Andrew Backey. Up next, I believe Sean has caught up with one Mr. Peak out there who was on track today.
The great Don Peak has joined us on the air. Don, what do you think about Lime Rock and a Nissan?
Hang on one second.
Oh. Can you hear us here, Don?
Sorry, I was watching the broadcast too.
Yes, just like radio. Turn the dial down and listen to me, okay? There we go. No,
Here
hey,
we go.
Listen. Boy, that was quite an adventure out there for you. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I had a couple spins early, which really sort of got me off the pace. But about halfway through the race, I realized I was still ahead of Rob O. So I thought, wow.
Figured, hey, I got something to race for. There we go.
Yeah, if I can beat him in a race, even if he did crash. So
Well, I'll tell you what. Go ahead.
I did not meet my goal, as Joe will probably tell you. My goal is to always finish ahead of all the Audis. The only reason that didn't happen today is I actually got tangled up with an Audi on my lap 36, which I guess was just about the next to last lap of the race, and brushed the wall and put me in the pits for the last couple of laps.
I did indeed see that. I was following your progress, Dad. Noticed that you were holding in 13th pretty steadily, and when we got to the end, I saw you slip to 17th. I had to go back and see what the incident is. I suspect, this is an unusual race for you to jump back in because I know you can't make all of them. I suspect your reasoning is because this is a free track to get back into things here?
No, actually, I really don't even like this track all that much. But it's in my portfolio, and it's with multi-class. It was tough, honestly, to find places to be around the Audis in a lot of cases.
Yeah, that is a sentiment I think that is echoed by a lot of the drivers out there today. Do you think we'll get you back in a week's time?
Oh, sure. Maybe not for this race, but I'll be, whatever the track is, I think I'll be there.
All right, we look forward to that. That was Don Peak, finished 17th overall and 13th still, at least within class today. With that, we are going to wrap up our broadcast. Of course, we want to thank the Kamel GT community for coming together and bringing these broadcasts to air. And of course, thanks to Rob Olenek and to Andrew Backey, who help organize all of the things behind the scenes here. Backey, of course, runs the VCR Championship and did the wonderful video before the race. Thanks to the companies that provide our software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen, and additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race is going to be Brands Hatch. That'll be Saturday, August 5th at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be just as intense as that is a very narrow, short, fast track. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.